Today we're going to talk about parallel lines that are cut by a transversal. And so we're going to use our highlighters to kind of mark the things that we know are equivalent to each other. And we're going to talk about what vocabulary words would make that so. So we know that two angles right beside each other would be supplementary. We also know that we have something called corresponding angles. So that would be if it was on the top of this part of the parallel line and on the left, its corresponding part would be angle 1. It's in the same place on the second line. We also know that we have something called alternate interior angles and alternate exterior angles. So the alternate exterior angle with 134 is angle 4. Now we also know due to vertical angles that these two would be equal as well, even though we're not asked to find those at this particular moment. And angle 1 and angle 3 would be vertical angles, and we will need to know that one. So now we're missing one set. So you should know where the other set of pink lines go. So again, I have corresponding parts. These two lines are parallel, and therefore this is on the left side and the top, and this right up here is also on the left side and on the top. So this is also a corresponding part, and its vertical angle would also be equal. So every angle that I have just marked in pink is going to be 134. And because we know that two angles right beside each other on a straight line add up to 180, we know that all of the ones that would be white, or in this case I've started highlighting them in green, we would know that all of these would be whatever 180 minus 134 would be. And so we would go ahead and do that math right now. So I would go ahead and write that. 180 take away 134. And we would do our subtraction problem. And we would get 46. So when we come over here to answer in all my answers, we only have two choices. We're going to either choose 46 or we're going to choose 134. And so you're going to use the colors to help you figure that out. All the pink angles are 134, which means angle 1, angle 3, angle 4, angle 6. And all the rest of them then would be 46. So when we use all of our vocabulary words, complementary, supplementary, vertical angles, corresponding parts, alternate interior, alternate exterior, when we put all of those pieces together, it's really just a matter of matching up the parts. So let's look at the next problem that's very similar to that. I don't want you to be confused because we have a lot of extra lines on here. Essentially, it's 3 different problems. This is the first problem. We have 2 parallel lines cut by a transversal. And then we'll ignore this line, and we will work that one. And then we will look at the last angle. And so I'm going to need quite a few different colors here because each pair is going to be matched up together. So I like to start with vertical angles. To me, those are the easiest ones to match up because I know that they're across from each other. They have to share a vertex. And so I would pick a set to match. So I have right here, that's a vertical angle. They're matching parts. If we pick them up and we move them down here to the second set of lines, so you would then have matching spots. Angle 5 and the 63 degrees would be corresponding parts. They're on the same side, and they're both on top of the parallel lines. So then the vertical angle over here would be this one, which would mean that all of the ones that I did not color in yellow would be their supplement. So let's go ahead and just mark right directly on here. We know this is 63, we know this is 63, and we know this is 63. And this angle up here is going to be whatever you get when you take 180 minus 63. So we go ahead and do our subtraction problem. And we have 117, which means angle 4 is equal to that, angle 1, and angle 2. All of those are going to be 117. And so I can go ahead and fill them in over here. Angle 1, angle 2, and angle 4. And that means angle, the yellow ones here, 3 and 5, are going to be 63. And all of these are on the yellow line. And so what I want you to do is I want you to think about what's going to happen on 6, 7, 8, and 9. So if you would pause the video at this particular moment and try those, And then you can pick the video up in just a moment and see if you are correct. So did you highlight the right ones? Remember, if it is a vertical angle, they are opposite and equal. And so since the majority of them were along the vertical angle that direction, I highlighted those. It would have been just as acceptable for you to have highlighted 6 in the empty space and 7 in the empty space on the top. In this case, I've left those blank, and we're going to go ahead and do the math for that. Go ahead and highlight the third one before we do the calculations. All right, so did you highlight them correctly? And did you notice that I've already gone ahead and set up the algebra problem or the subtraction problem that we're going to do? We're going to take 180 and subtract the one that we know, which is 98, and find the answer. And we're going to do the same thing on the pink one. We're going to take 180 and we're going to subtract the 111. So go ahead and do that, and then put all your answers in on the other side and see if you would have gotten the same answers that I got. Okay, so now I have all the answers recorded. I recorded them over here in the table, not because that's probably where you would have recorded them, but that's where you would have recorded them in a multiple choice answer, or however digitally we were going to record them. Personally, for my scratch paper, I would have had this. This would be what I would have had if I asked you to take a video or a picture of something to show your work, because how you've highlighted them and how you've recorded each part, if this part is correct, even if you've transposed the numbers when you come over here and write them down, this shows the work. So when I'm asking about work in this particular unit, this is what I'm looking for, is that you have shown me where all the parts go and that you've shown me you know how to do the math. Now these are probably the most complicated ones that we're going to do in terms of parallel lines cut by a transversal. Most of the ones you're going to see in the bell work and the exit ticket are going to look a little bit more like this, where it's a simple problem and I'm asking you to find one thing and I'm asking you to give me an answer. So even though we know everything here is exactly what we were seeing before, and I'll just give a little bit of highlight so you can kind of see that. These would be vertical angles. This would be alternate interior angles, and the vertical angle would be there. So that would mean all the green ones are 71. And so then if I were to do one like, let's say number 8 down here, I would say, okay, this is 65. The vertical angle for that one is there. And then its corresponding part would be right up here. It's here underneath, because they would match. They're on the bottom left side, and its vertical angle would be here, which would mean up here, the answer was still 71. But down here, you'll notice that one of them is highlighted in green and one of them is not, which means I'll have to go ahead and take 180. And I'll have to subtract the 65 from it, and I'll have to get the answer. So that would make this 115. And so that's the work that I'm looking for when you solve these problems. So I hope that helps. Great job today.